In this video lecture, we're going to talk about another type of confound, which is the correlated cause confound. So if you recall, we've been talking about controlling for confounds, and there have been two types of confounds. So the first video lecture on this covered common cause confounds, and this one is going to look at correlated cause confounds. So with a correlated cause confound, x and y are correlated with one another because one of them is caused by z and the other one is just correlated with z. So this means that they don't all have the same shared cause, but there's something going on where one of them is definitely caused by z, and that makes the relationship between x and y something that is interfered with by the confound. So there's a couple ways of diagramming this depending on whether z is causing x or whether it's causing y. So again, we see once again here this sort of curved double arrow, which means there's a correlation between x and y, right? And then in this situation, I wrote out z is causing the x, so there's a causal arrow, but then it just is correlated with the y. But you can also have it be flipped like that, and then x and z are correlated, and then z causes y. You know, it really just depends on the logic of what you're talking about and how the confound is related. So let's go through some examples of this to show you what correlated cause confounds looks like. And what I want to kind of emphasize is, one, how the confound is working, but then also signaling how this is different than a common cause confound. So let's talk about this. Does ice cream consumption cause an increase in homicide? Well, we actually see a correlation between this, that ice cream consumption and homicide rates. In the times when there's a lot of ice cream consumption, murder rates go up. And so is it something that eating ice cream is making people full of rage? Maybe they're going on some sort of sugar high and killing people? That's probably pretty unlikely. So let's think about what a confound would be with this. Well, one thing we see here is temperature. So as the temperature increases in the warm summer months, that leads people to have more ice cream, okay? And that increase in temperature in the summer months is correlated with homicide rate, but it's not that hot temperatures are causing people to kill one another. Instead, higher temperature goes with certain other things in terms of people being out on the streets. It goes along of changes that are going along with seasonality that might be related to homicide rate, but the temperature itself is not causing homicides. And so here we see that this z of temperature is causing x, and then it is correlated with y. And so what happens here is that there's no causal relationship between ice cream and homicide rate, but the fact that we're talking about summer months here, that's what makes it look like there might be a causal relationship. Okay, let's go through another example, one that relates more to politics. So you might wonder if economic instability causes political revolutions, that places that have really volatile economies also seem to have revolutions more often. And you might think, oh, maybe that's because people are responding to the economic instability and that's causing them to revolt. But if this were to be true, which it might be, but you'd want to consider other potential confounds in there. And so here again, we see this correlation, but we're not sure if it's causal, right? So here's our x and here's our y. And so no matter what, you always want to think, is there any confound that could be going on? And so one that I thought of would be levels of economic development. So economies that are in the global south that are poorer are more likely to have economic instability, and this is due to their relationships of integration into the global economy. They tend to be more volatile. And so you see this lower level of economic development causing greater instability, bigger, ups and downs in the economy. And maybe that low level of economic development goes along with political revolution, but it's not that it's necessarily causing it. It might be related through other previous connections with, say, colonial legacies. There might be a number of things that would make countries that are less developed more likely to have a political revolution without it necessarily being the economic development itself that is causal. So here, as I mapped it out, this is the z is causing x, and it just happens to be correlated with y. Okay, so here are a couple of examples of what a correlated cause confound looks like. One of the takeaway points I want you to take from this is to think, whenever you have a causal relationship, to think, okay, could there be anything else going on? But just keeping in mind that it doesn't have to be something that is causing both X and Y. As long as you can think of something that is causing X or is causing Y and might be just confusing that relationship that you see. So